Welcome back, Montreal Now. Dan Delmar and Sarah DeHay in for Aaron and Natasha today. Sarah will be back in a moment to allow me to nerd out a little bit with someone who I've watched on television for decades now, for at least like 2, 3 decades. Our next guest, for those that are familiar with Star Trek, played, of course, the iconic character Q, and he's also been seen in films and TV for a couple decades now, including Breaking Bad, a really interesting role there, where he played the very angry, disappointed father of a young woman who dated Jesse, the drug trafficker. Actor John de Lancie joins us. Mr. de Lancie, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
How are you enjoying Montreal so far?
Well, I got in last night in that amazing rainstorm, and that was quite something. But Montreal, I've been here a number of times, and it's always a favorite.
You'll be appearing at Comic-Con this weekend at several events, so head over to MontrealComicCon.com for ticket information there. Some other Star Trek folk are there as well. I know Jonathan Frakes is participating as well. How many of these conventions do you do in a typical year?
Well, we'll do maybe about, between, let's say, 5 or 8 of them.
And what's your relationship like with the fandom? I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm not sure if I would call myself a Trekkie. I don't own a uniform or anything, for the record. But what's your relationship with the fans? And does it get really intimate sometimes?
Well, it's a very interesting relationship, and I'm going to use a metaphor, an acting metaphor. Instead of it being film or television, I'm going to use the stage. You are on stage. You do a show. The show finishes, you go into your dressing room, you get out of your makeup, you put on your street clothes, and you go to the back door, the stage door. And there are typically, a half dozen people who have seen the show. They would like you to sign the playbook, and they have a few things to say about the show. Well, that is the microcosm of what these conventions are like. And so for us, and we've talked about this, we who have been on Star Trek for as long as we have, we've said, that's where we hear more about the show and understand the show better through our interactions with the fans when they come up. I like this. I was really touched by that. Now with Q, I play it kind of a trickster, but for others, they'll say, to Gates McFadden, they'll say, I wanted to be a doctor because of you, on and on and on. So we hear a lot about the show and how the audience perceives the show through these conventions.
Star Trek has certainly inspired me in terms of my multicultural perspective. Your character is so central to the Next Generation. I mean, you're on the first episode, I believe, the first ever episode of Next Generation.
I was in the first episode. I don't think it was. I know it was not intended to be a recurring character, but I guess it took off in the audience's imagination, and so I've been now on Next Gen, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and Picard.
So, as Star Trek people know, you play this omnipotent sort of being that, in a way, helps to shape some of the characters, including Picard's future. How is it for you playing this sort of almost deity? How did it affect your view of gods or the universe?
Well, it didn't affect my view of gods or universe, because what I did is that, there's not much drama or, frankly, interest in a god that is, in fact, all-powerful, as opposed to a god that has clay feet, or a god who's omnipotent, but he's kind of too stupid to know it, or So it's the flip side of the coin, which is sort of fun and interesting. So that's kind of how I approached the character.
And there's one episode in particular, I think it's on Next Generation, where you find out that you're perhaps not as powerful as you thought, and I guess there's a other Q, or a Q supervisor who puts you in your place, I suppose. What was it like to sort of take a step back and to do that episode as sort of not the all powerful being?
Well, yeah, I mean, and you know what? Interestingly enough, it's an episode that a lot of people really enjoy, because you're seeing quote an all-powerful being become, in this case, a human for a while, and it's just you're seeing the frailties of human life through this character. I mean, Star Trek works the best though with whether it's just my character or other stories, works the best when they're big philosophical discussions. That's when it absolutely works the best, because science fiction gives a little bit of distance to the social issue, and when we can talk about human social issues with that distance. And I've always thought that my character works the best in that sort of an environment. And that's how I started the show. I started the show by saying, why do you, as a species, think that you deserve to be out here amongst all of us?
John Lancie joins us, played Q on the various Star Trek series. And there was another interesting episode is when your son makes an appearance. And I learned doing research today that was your son in real life. What was that like, playing two deities, I guess, and the father-son dynamics there?
Well, I want to say to people who are immediately thinking, oh, well, there's nepotism at work. My agent called and said, guess what? They're looking for a character. I mean, they're looking for somebody to play, an actor to play your son. Do you think that Keegan would be interested? And I said, well, I'll ask him. He took 3 auditions. I did not help him in any way, nor would I have. He needed to want to do it, and he needed to it needed to be his decision. And so it was great fun. The people have asked me since then, well, is he still an actor? And I go, thankfully not. Thankfully not. He is a diplomat in the U.S. State Department.
Wonderful. You came back again for Star Trek Picard recently. What was that experience, getting back together with the old cast? Did it feel like a reunion in a sense?
It did feel like a reunion, albeit it was shot during the height of COVID, so it was, all that sort of chatty, let's get together, make lunches, while we're working, an event, and so all that was gone. We were masked and shielded and behind our own private little clear plastic. That part was sort of bizarre. But in terms of being back on a show, which you have to understand, 37 years ago, my idea is that I flew in from Japan. I was doing a job in Japan. I flew in from Japan a day before starting to shoot. I was going to be on Star Trek for, 2 weeks or whatever it took to shoot the pilot series. And then that was going to be it. That was the end of it. I mean, off to something else. And to think that here it was 37 years later, Patrick and I are facing off, except this time I'm saying goodbye. And there's not only is it the tomato that's stuck on the wall, career-wise, but there's a lot of kind of sentimental stuff attached to it.
It was a pleasure talking to you, John Lancie. Just one last question. The actor strike, of course, happened last night as of midnight. What do you think is at the heart of these negotiations and where they go from here?
Well, at the heart of the negotiations is that the actors, somebody asked me this a couple of days ago. The acting business is an extremely difficult business. At any one time, 95% of the union actors are out of work. The economics of the business through streaming have changed drastically. And also this whole issue of AI, which is beginning to loom large, not only for us, but for a lot of other people in many other industries, is beginning to, we're beginning to see what that could mean. And it's not good. So for an industry which for the most part, 80% of any of the actors who are in the business have a very, very difficult time putting ends meet. It's really important that that salaries and health care and those type of things be sorted out, so that we can still have actors acting as a profession and not a hobby. So that's what's at stake.
John de Lancie, you know him as Q in Star Trek. He's appearing this weekend at the Palais de Congrès for Montreal Comic Con. You can go to montrealcomiccon.com for ticket information there. Thank you, sir. A real pleasure. Live long and prosper.
Well, thank you. Same to you.